Hi guys, welcome back. This video certainly wasn't planned. It wasn't intentional for me to go out and do anything with regards to this. I'm getting a bit of a reputation for being a bit of a bait guru, and I don't know why. Yes, baits play a massive part in my fishing. I have got I should say quite a big interest in baits. I always have done. I've just got an inquisitive mind, especially when I was coming into the sport 30 odd years ago now. Good God, I've been around that long. But I've been having quite a few questions, private messages off people, regards to how flavours are different, how they compare, I should say, now to what they were. There's one simple way I can put this, is that the flavours today that go into bait are shit. Simple as that. The flavours that we have today are shit compared to what they were back in the 80s and 90s. For the simple reason, the EU got their claws on things, and a lot of things that were available to us back then are not available to us today. All these things about, you know, if you use certain acid profiles, they'll give you cancers, they give you this, they give you that. Back then we didn't care. It wasn't even mentioned. I remember Rod Hutchinson, shortly before he passed away, that a lot of the flavours that he did were on a wing and a prayer. You know, that guy was renowned for being a drinker. I know that he should have laughed and giggled that when he did sort of Secret Agent and the Monster Crab, etc., etc. A lot of them were just different flavour profiles wanged together. He'd give them a sniff, you know, he'd try them himself, give them to a few friends. 9 times out of 10, those, wherever they took them, they're absolutely cane waters. They'd rip them apart. He saw the advantages in different flavour profiles. So that guy had a different understanding. Not saying that Rod Hutchinson was an expert on flavours, and I'm sure that if he was still around now, he would say exactly the same. But he had a general understanding, a basic understanding on how flavour compounds worked in different baits, worked at different times of the year, obviously, i.e. water temperatures, etc. Excuse me. So when I was a lad, when I came into the sport, it was, you had Tutti Frutti by Richmouth, you had Pineapple Hawaiian, strawberry jam. Or when you open the bag, you can tell the synthetics of the bait. It was definitely there. I mean, I'm quite fortunate. I have a few bottles of the old flavourings from Richmouth, Mainline, Rod Hutchinson, Kempe as well. I've got a few old bottles of. Those flavours are replicated today through a machine. That obviously, you know, they'll tip a profile of an old flavour, say Monster Crab, etc. And they'll say, yes, you know, we can make that. But you compare the two together after they're done. The Monster Crab flavour was always quite, wasn't thick, but it was a thicker consistency. Now they're like water. A lot of flavours today are like water because they're manufactured in a different way. We've been told of what we can and cannot use in our baits. Over the years, I got a little bit disillusioned with carp fishing in general, the way that things are. Sometimes it's gone for the better, as in even the equipment that we've got now. It's absolutely fantastic. You cannot. I wish I'd got the kit that I've got now back in the day. We just didn't have it. But what I do think is that as much as the equipment's got brilliant, it's definitely in the right direction. angling ability certainly hasn't. Now, I've seen a lot of guys that have come into the sport, and it's more or less like they're brainwashed in what they've got to use, what they have to have. And to me, it just rattles my head, because that's not how it was back in the day. And I may be showing my age a little bit now. I am 50 this year. So I've been doing this for a lot longer than 30 years. I was about 11 or 12 when I first started carp fishing. So I've seen a lot. Some of it's for the better. I'd say most of it's for the better, as equipment, etc. But I think angling ability hasn't got better. I think it's actually got worse. We're relying too much on, we need to use spinner rigs for this, we need to add this bait, we need to add that. They need to be looking at other avenues and other things that are more important than being a fashion statement, because basically that's what it is. What you see other guys on the TV using, you are brainwashed to a certain example, and that goes for baits as well. Because Joe Bloggs uses the cell or the link or Richworth's Tutti Frutti or whatever it is, and he's catching 30, 40, 50 pounders on it, doesn't mean that that bait's good. And it really, really doesn't. Most places today are, how can I put it, more like carp brothels. A lot of the day ticket waters, that's what I do call them. They're reared for our gratification of shoving a hook in their mouths. You know, there's no escaping it today. And it annoys me a little bit. That's the way that carp fishing's become. Carp fishing for me was always an adventure, but it wasn't just the fishing. It was also the build up to, you know, the session ahead with your mates. It was making your own baits. It was making the mistakes, but it was more so about having fun out there. But over the years, as I said, flavours in baits have changed. It's not bait manufacturers' fault. A lot of it was stipulations by the EU. But over the past few years, more than I care to remember, I've been using flavours by, maybe some of you might already know. And no, it's not Nutribaits, if that's what you like to want to think. John Baker. Now, I make a lot of my own hook baits. Not so much free bait, but all my own hook baits, whether it be pop-ups, wafters, or bottom baits. I tend to use John Baker flavours an awful lot. Now, they're not the cheapest out there, but you can tell straight away. You can tell straight away that these are, they're slightly thicker in their makeup than compared to, say, baits that you'll get from, or flavours that you'll get from Mainline, CC Moore, etc. They're very watery in their makeup. John Baker's quite, the consistency is different, if you like. I also use a lot of John Baker's liquid shrimp extract. Now, obviously, this is hydrolyzed. It's very, very thick. If you do taste it, it's very, very salty. As I said, it's for me, carp go on more on taste than they do on smell. Yes, smell plays a factor, but they'll go on taste. Exactly the same with us. Something that could absolutely smell divine, you could taste it and it smells like shit, and you won't want to eat anymore. It's exactly the same that goes into bait. Some baits have got better, as in the ingredients that have got in that we didn't have back in the day, but the flavours certainly haven't that go into them. A lot of flavours, they're just they're cheaply made. They're done by a machine. It's like a sniff machine. You know, they'll say take the Ala Solar by John Baker, and I know a company that did try and replicate this. Very naughty. Obviously they did call it something else. It smelt very similar, but it certainly wasn't the same. Exactly the same. I'm quite fortunate, as I said, I've got some old flavours by Rod Hutchinson, and I've also got a new bottle that I purchased not so long ago. There's definitely a difference between the old Monster Crab and the new Monster Crab. Also the Nouvelle Fizz. I've got quite a few bottles left, and I'm quite fortunate, and I do use them, obviously very sparingly, because you can't get any more. So once they're gone forever. Is the Nouvelle Fizz by Rod Hutchinson, which was absolutely awesome the first time I ever used it. I used to use it in a HMV bait back in the day. I have used it in fish meals. Hasn't worked as well in the fish meal, but milk proteins or etc. it's done very, very well in. It's definitely not the same, even though it's still called Nouvelle Fizz. I know where it's manufactured. It's manufactured in Italy. It's a very, very poor copy. And they're very watery. Everything that was good back in the day had some sort of thickness to it. A lot of flavours today are extremely watery, and they're charging you $8.95 for a little bottle. I can remember, as I said, going back in the tackle shop when I was a lad, and a lot of the flavours are all in glass bottles. There used to be a lot of essential oils out there as well. You don't see that too much of now. I remember Nash did one called the Sting. Now I know it's a different blend of essential oils. I do know what's in it. I can replicate it to a certain degree, if I really wanted to, that is. I know there's a bait company out there that are doing the Sting, but it's certainly not the same. I got quite excited about the baits, and they're very, very they're well made, but the smell is definitely not the same. They say it's the same, but I know damn well that it isn't. And I will stick by my guns on that, because I've got some old bottles of Nash Sting left, and the flavour the smell that's coming off those baits certainly isn't the same. It's very similar, but it's not the same. I did speak to Gary Bays about trying to, if I could have some made for me. There was just no way. He just said that you can't get the ingredients for the base mix. Again, that's more stipulations probably from the EU. It's such a shame that that's how it's become, but that is how it is. This is my honest opinion. There's going to be people out there that will totally disagree with me, and that's fine. I'm not here for a slanging match. If you disagree with me, that's your opinion. I'm just going on what I know. I'm not saying that I'm right at all. Some people out there will probably think that I'm talking through my head, or talking through my hat, I should say. But flavours certainly aren't the same. And for those old school carpers out there that have been doing this for a long time, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. As I said, there's no real bad bait companies out there. The flavours certainly aren't the same. You're still going to catch plenty of fish. That goes without a shadow of a doubt. Most places, as I said, they're carp brothels today. They're just stocked for our own gratification, that we can shove sharp things in their gobs. I have no interest in that. Never had no interest in fishing carp brothels whatsoever. But a lot of the new guys that are coming into it, that's the way they're steered today, and I think it's a shame. I think those anglers that do break the mould and go their own way and do source other waters, because everybody's got their own standpoint on how to change things in their own angling, and I think the ones that do sort of break away from the norm normally do better than others. I really do see that. Not as much today, but back in the day I used to. But yeah, that's my standpoint on flavours. If there's anything else that I can help you with, oh, excuse me, you can always drop me a message. I'll always get back to you. I've said this before. I'm really, really pleased that some people have taken this away, the information that I do give, and they enjoy it. And that's all what this is all about. I do enjoy doing these things. It's not for my own gratification or ego, whatever you want to call it. That's all bollocks. I'm not interested in that. I like to pass on little hints and tips every now and again. This is not for anybody else's benefit. I'm not sponsored by any bait companies or any tackle manufacturer. If I think something's good, I will tell you that it's fucking good. If I think it's bad, I will tell you it's bad. It's as simple as that. There's no airs, no graces. There's no nothing. As I said, I did a piece a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago now. It turned out to be a bit of a vlog, which I don't tend to do, to be honest. But people were just generally interested in how I go about my fishing. Whether they like that sort of thing or whether they don't. I know there's a lot of people out there doing things like this, and that's great. It's fantastic. There's some great content out on YouTube. Some's very entertaining, some's very informative, and people like that sort of thing. But as I said, in regards to flavours, I've briefly touched on it. They're certainly not the same as they once were. As I said, I'm getting a bit of an old boy now, so for the newbies that are into the sport, there's nothing wrong with the bait. As I said, flavours are certainly different. Flavours do play their part, but do not scrimp on your bait. Don't buy cheap bait. It's false economy, and believe you me, that's the last thing you want to be scrimping on, is your bait. But I hope that helps. As I said, this was totally off the cuff. It wasn't planned whatsoever, so I've just winged it. I'm going to settle down now. I'm going to need a cup of tea, or maybe something a little bit stronger. And I'm hoping to get on the bank in the next couple of weeks. So keep your eye out for that. I may film it, may film bits of it. Might be just another vlog, who knows. If people like that sort of thing, I might do a vlog. Show them what I'm doing, you know, show them lighting my barbecue, etc. Just generally living it up and having a great time, because at the end of the day, that's what I like. You know, it's not all about catching fish. It's just about getting out there and doing it. But yeah, I'm starting to waffle a bit now. But yeah, I hope that helps, guys. As I said, if it doesn't, drop a message below. Whatever you want to do, I'll always get back to you. But that's my standpoint on flavours in fishing. Cheers, guys.